Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Don't have a clue. I've been homeless 3 times in my life. I'm 64. I'll be 65 this November. It really sucks. But me being homeless, I was 100 times better than 95% of the population in the world. Put it in a little perspective.
Our senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell with us live on the ground in Kabul, where he has been for many days now. And Ian, I want to get right to something the president was pressed on there from our own Stephanie Ramos, who was there at the White House. She asked about Americans and Afghans who are in Kabul and beyond, who are trying to get to that airport. But as you have reported for many nights on World News Tonight, the Taliban controls the checkpoint, the Taliban and convoys around that country. How do you get those families to the airport? The president said he has no intelligence that Americans have been unable to get there. The question, obviously, does that square with reporting on the ground?
I mean, just totally not. The reaction was pretty much one of, it was breathtaking. No indication Americans can't get to the airport. I mean, last night on World News.
Why is President Biden saying one thing that you can tell he actually believes, and the reality is so different? Why? Because he's not calling the shots. He's just, what he believes is what he's being told. Unnamed, unelected, faceless bureaucrats are really the president. Those of you that hate Donald Trump, you think Donald Trump would get managed like this? And he got managed a little bit by the Republicans. I got to admit. He believed in people instead of going with his gut. Donald Trump would have said, I'm the effing president. Tell me what's going on. Tell me the truth. What happened weeks ago? Are you kidding me? You know what would have happened? He would have droned the presidential palace and killed all of those leaders of Taliban. Believe me, he would. They're scared of him. They think he's crazy, but he's crazy in a good way. And all those NATO leaders and prime ministers that all whine because Trump made them finally pay their fair share for their protection with NATO. To pay for equipment, upgrade equipment. NATO has never been more ready and better equipped than they are now, ever, because of Donald Trump. And got billions of dollars from them to pay their fair share to reimburse the American taxpayers. And these people here are the ones that got Joe Biden directly elected. I don't want to hear your whining now. Elections have consequences, both in this country and around the world. The next time you vote, you better make damn sure you know what the hell you're doing.
We had American citizens who had exactly that experience. They tried to get to the airport. They had waived their American passports. The president talked about all they had to do was present their passports and they'd be allowed through. They were beaten by the Taliban with the rubber fan belt from a vehicle. Multiple examples of Americans and Afghans, SIV applicants, who have now tried repeatedly. There's one woman we're tracking. She's back at the airport tonight. This is her 3rd night in the row. Gates haven't opened. The Taliban haven't let her through. It just seems the reality and the rhetoric are miles apart. I'm not quite sure what advice the president's receiving, but the truth on the ground is that these people who are in fear of their lives can't get through.
Just us who think that Donald...
Now, the reality and the rhetoric are not the same. That's been the mainstream media since Donald Trump announced he was running for president. The rhetoric and the reality are not the same. Do I wish he had a little bit softer personality? Yeah, but he is who he is. He's in his 70s. He's not going to change. Okay, I accept that. I don't mind. It's just an annoyance at worst. The reality and what's being reported and the rhetoric is not the same. You got some serious balls. And here we go again. We got to hear reports from Australia on polls that show that Biden's underwater. Let's listen.
Trump would be doing better. A new poll reveals that apparently many voters are now regretting voting for Joe Biden.
And why? Who would blame them, Rowan? I mean, honestly, this is a situation now where we're seeing American prestige destroyed on the world stage. The world made a far more dangerous place. And so, there's a big case of what I'm starting to call a phenomenon called Biden's regrets, where Biden voters now say, ooh, gee, maybe the orange man wasn't so bad. After all, 1 in 10 regretting their vote. You add the numbers together, that would suggest that Donald Trump, if the election were held today, would still be in office. And it would suggest that even though he did want to end that engagement in Afghanistan, that it would not have been done in such a chaotic and shambolic way.
Daisy?
Well, the poll's pretty interesting. Indeed, it's from Rasmussen Reports, which, remember, is one of the only outlets, along with Trafalgar and the People's Pundit, who were actually even halfway accurate in the last two elections, said that 37% who voted for Joe Biden last time would vote for him today, even though 45% of them said they did. The poll said that 43% of respondents would vote for Trump, so that's quite a big win in the popular vote for Trump if the election were held today. And as James said, nearly 1 in 10 Biden voters regret voting for Joe Biden, which is fairly extraordinary. And if anyone wants a kind of visual representation of that, there's a terrific Twitter account out there called Biden Voters Posting Their L's Online, L's meaning losses. And it is just full of, since the beginning of the year, from the stimulus checks to Afghanistan, tweet after tweet after tweet of Biden voters saying, oh my God, why did I vote for him? What a dummy am I? What a mistake I did make.
What a mistake that I did make. I like the name Daisy. You can tell it's Australia. It's an old school American name, and it's also a old school British name. I kind of like it. Anyway, what have I done? What have I done? Look at those people in the background here. That was from the C-17. There's several hundred that got out early, and they're luckier than hell. Elections have consequences. Well, I didn't like Donald Trump because he tweeted too much and he was mean on there, and he just shut the F up. So I voted for Biden. I want you to explain to those Afghan people that it's going to be millions are going to die. Millions are going to die in the end, or have a life so wretched they wish they were dead. All because you didn't like Donald Trump because he tweeted too much and he was mean. Think about that for a minute. I'll even go as long as say, you know what? Maybe both of the choices weren't that great. I'm a huge Trump supporter, but I'm just going to do this for the sake of argument, say that. My God, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? Here's the weird part. The hundreds of thousands of Afghan refugees, they're going to be scared across the world, and a whole bunch here, they're up in arms about. But yet, we had 1.2 million come across the Mexican border illegally. And believe me, they weren't all from Mexico and Central America. There was many from Africa, the Middle East. God knows what got in here. Yes, elections have consequences. They surely do. Well, I just couldn't vote for him. I just couldn't. You know what? He should have stayed home. You should have not voted for either. Vote for your state, maybe your Congress members. And there was a crap load more votes for congressional members nationwide than were presidential votes dwarf that. Makes you wonder, but I can't go into detail because this is YouTube. It's ridiculous. You say, well, John, this is Monday morning quarterbacking. Trump couldn't have done any better. Jesus, do you think? No one. I mean, no one. No one. I'll even make this statement as outrageous as it is. Even Maxine Waters, who's dumber than a bag of rocks, could have effed up this badly. Or worse. Impossible. You can't screw up this badly unless you're really trying, or you're totally so inept and so ridiculously clueless I'm not, there's a whole bunch of progressives and leftists that I'll never, ever reach, ever. And anybody that's conservative can never reach them. They're totally gone. We'll call it a chronic condition. They're insane. Insane. They're literally nuts. It's the other 10, 15, 20% of the Democrats that are decent people, that are hardworking people, who I'm talking to right now. Men, women that voted for Biden and thought they were doing the right thing and things would just calm down. Trump had the border under control, and he was going to withdraw the best he could out of Afghanistan. It was going to be messy, but nowhere nearly this bad. Nowhere nearly this bad. It's like a divorce. It's always going to be bad. Always. But you can make it 100 times worse depending how you act. It's insane. So, I guess the question still is out there. Your choice today? Who would you vote for today? Folks, I follow a lot of politics. I have my whole life since I was a boy. I always loved it. I know a little bit more than the average person, but I still don't know nearly enough. I try to find out everything I possibly can about the topics that I'm interested in before I vote for somebody, especially at the state and federal level. Local, you might even know them or know of them. But when you vote for president, you have to look at everything. You may not like both the choices, but you have to pick the best choices available. I consider it as an obligation as an American citizen. There are cemeteries with almost 1 million Americans in the U.S. and around the world that died so you can vote. And this is what you do with it? And I want you, with this final thought, you Biden voters that meant well, the ones that are normal, that you can reason with. Look in the back of the picture here. Look at the Afghan people. How many are going to die? How many are going to die indirectly because of who you voted for? Think about that. And God knows what else is going to happen. We're only 1/8 into this administration's 4-year term. No matter who the president is, not going to matter. It's going to be a figurehead. We have 7/8 more to go. We're only 6 months in. And there's 48 months in a presidential term. Think about that for a minute. What the hell else can happen because of their incompetency? I know you're upset. I know you feel, a lot of you, the normal people, feel guilty. I just couldn't vote for Trump. Oh, my God. I mean, what was I thinking? Okay, you made a mistake. We all screw up. Take a breath. When you vote this November in your local and state elections, next year in the midterms, and then in 2024 in the midterms again, and the presidential election, don't forget about this. Don't forget about, I voted with my emotions and my feelings. Take a breath. Calm down. Maybe you think it's the best choice out of crappy choices. That's fine. That's the way the cards fall sometimes. Think about this situation now. And God knows what's going to happen from now until the end of 2024. Elections do have consequences. Look at those people in the background. Look what you did to them. I know you didn't do it on purpose, but think about it. Elections have consequences. And until the next time, goodbye and good luck.